It's been a busy week in politics with the controversial asset sales legislation all but passed. And as we heard earlier, the Greens making a last-ditch attempt to drum up signatures for a petition to get a referendum to stop the sale. Given that two-thirds of Kiwis apparently oppose the sale, will this signal a turnaround for the government's fortunes? Political Editor Corin Dann joins us now. Well, asset sales just won't go away. We're discussing on the couch this morning the fact that was the election, the mandate that the government needs, they say they have, to sell the assets. But the Greens saying the PM is basically slinging mud at them. What's your opinion?
Oh, there's no doubt that they have a mandate, given that, as Peter said, that they took this to the electorate and were voted in. I think a lot hinges now on how the sale of the first asset goes, Mighty River Power, which has to go to market before the end of September. So much is going to depend on how this is done, and if it's, if there is huge demand for the shares, if the price stabilises after it's floated, all those sorts of things are going to be crucial to ensuring that the rest of those assets are sold and that this is a program that doesn't hurt National. If that doesn't go well, then it's huge risks for the government, no doubt.
Are you saying that if Mighty River Power doesn't go well, the government may look at turning around this policy and not going ahead with the rest of the sale?
Well, I think if it was to go really badly, and probably the main risk is that markets are in turmoil or something like that and they can't do it. But if for some reason it didn't go well in the public relations campaign, which will be rolled out very shortly to get Kiwis on board and buying these shares, for some reason didn't go well, it might cause problems for the other assets. They might have to think about delaying them. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that there will be a very big public relations campaign. We know that they're going to use banks. People will be able to go into a bank and buy shares. There's going to be a huge effort to make sure that all Kiwis get access to information and, I guess, try and make it as fair as possible, even though it's not going to be fair because some people know more about shares than others. But try and make it as fair as possible so that Kiwis get a fair crack at getting a chance to buy these shares, even though they didn't want to sell them, it seems. Well, most people didn't want them to be sold.
Let's talk about the petition then, because the Greens obviously having this last sort of big push to get that underway. Do you think they're going to pick up pace? Is there anything that will come out of this now?
It's hard to know. No, I don't think so, because they had, I think about last week or so, they had about 80,000 signatures. They were going quite quickly, but they're going to need more than 300,000, even though that's the threshold for the referendum. They'll need more than that, because you can always expect a number of signatures to be deemed to be not void. So they need probably 350, 400,000 to be safe of that 300,000 mark. The time it's going to take to get that, I think it's likely that one, possibly two or three of the assets could have been sold by then, so that's not going to change the program.
Right.
But it does, no doubt it puts pressure on the government and just makes it more uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, I understand they're up to about 150, but as you say, that's still not
okay, well,
quite
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, look, let's talk about this 10-point plan. The government comes out yesterday and says we want to be able to measure our success. We're aspirational. Is this the vision that people have called for from the government for so long, or is it desperation to start talking about other things?
Oh, I don't think it's either. I was a little bit it's hard to get inspired. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having targets for your civil service. They're admirable targets. I wouldn't like to see them used by ministers as an excuse for their performance not coming up to scratch. I wouldn't like to see all of the emphasis dumped on the civil servants' bosses here. But nonetheless, I don't see there's any problem with having these admirable targets. Why not have a few targets? But I don't think this is necessarily the issue for this government in some ways. The civil service isn't the problem with New Zealand at the moment. It is the economy that is not performing. It is growth in the private sector that is the problem. These targets don't do anything to address that. It's all very well taking a whole lot of people off long-term benefits, but you've got to find jobs for them. And I think the government needs to increase its focus on that area of growing the economy because that is where the issues are, I think, for New Zealand at the moment.
Indeed. Corin Dann, Political Editor, thank you for that.